what we're doing with a lot of our clients that are in the education sphere is everything that they're talking about is introducing kids to the real world earlier, right? Like tying everything that they learn in the classroom to its ramifications in the real world, in a market economy, understanding how a dollar works and how jobs work.
Which is like, obviously, like, why are we
well, when you're an adult and you're in the marketplace, you're like, why didn't anyone tell me this? Why didn't anyone never tell me like how credit works or how to like
why do we not learn that
open
stuff?
a bank account or write a check? Like no one tells you
actual practical things that you're going to be using in your real life.
And it's messed up. It's backwards to me. And so it's like, if education isn't designed to prepare us for life as an adult operating in an economy, then what is it for? You know what I mean? All right, you guys ready for the intro?
Podcast go.
Yeah, it's totally ready.
Here we go.
Hi, my name's Jed. Welcome to the Votary podcast.
Oh, because it's school?
This is awful. I hate you.
I'm upset.
Oh, I don't know it.
I don't even have the headphones on and I can hear it.
I'm having terrible flashbacks.
This is like a stutter when we both are doing. Can you hear that?
That song just makes me think of being very warm.
Why were you warm?
And sweaty.
Because you're outside.
Graduations are always very hot. Well,
Did
my
you-
high school graduation was inside, and then my college one was outside.
Did you cry at graduation?
No, I almost passed out.
Didn't that remind you
Almost
of,
spit take. I almost did a spit take.
didn't that song remind you of the level of education that you may or may not have?
Exactly what it reminded me of.
Great segue, Cody.
I just felt like that was appropriate.
That's pretty good.
And I feel like I'll kick it over to Berlin to introduce the topic.
I mean, I was just going to introduce the topic by asking you, Cody. Did you?
Actually, I was going to kick it back to you.
I really was. I was just going to
Let's
ask
circle
you.
back on this topic.
Somebody actually said circle back in an email to me, and I was like,
It's happened.
There's a fly in my iced coffee.
this has gone completely off topic already.
No, this is how all our podcasts
What is on topic?
Cody, did you go to college?
Your mom went to college?
Move on.
Yeah, I did go to college.
Yeah?
Yep.
For
Where's my
like
camera?
2 seconds.
What is happening?
Zoom in on me.
Where's Jamin's camera? That's 18 to 35. There is no more zoom.
Can you zoom in?
No.
No. Oh, don't
Just
break it.
carry the whole tripod.
You can just do a zoom in and post.
We can zoom in on that one.
You can do a
Yeah, forget about it.
Why did you have a moment?
pretend.
Oh, it's like a gym moment where like someone says something stupid or a funny joke.
you're
Because
like-
you had made your mom joke.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I was like
2 hours ago.
Just do it right there. You can zoom in on that.
and then
It just won't be a.
Those were always the
camera
best
zoom.
gym moments where he would make a face and then they would have to explain it for 30 minutes after.
I don't remember that.
Well, did I go to college? Yes.
Did
Why
you
do you
go-
ask?
Why do I ask? Because I've noticed at Votary, everyone has like a different education level. Like,
What? I thought that Votary
We're all
did a very
stupid.
particular screening on having everyone completed the same amount of schooling so that we all understand the same concepts and disciplines and
I like how you're sounding more and more like a child.
I actually think Jed purposely hires people who didn't go to college.
whoa, we're gonna have to bleep that one out.
That's a
I think it's intentional. He's like, college, who needs it?
well.
Actually, I would agree with you.
I think that there's a lot to this topic, which is why I think it's worth a podcast discussion.
Whoa.
So, what would you like to do? You want to go around the table and everyone share what?
Introduce their education.
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah, okay.
List their credentials.
We'll start with Jamin.
I'm a doctor.
Jamin, what are you?
What are my credentials, or what am I?
What are you, Jamin?
Both.
Okay, well, I guess I'm a man. I'm a human, and trying to be a filmmaker.
Awesome. And what's your level of education?
Oh, a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Self-education.
Self-education.
There
That's
you go.
pretty
There
cool.
we go.
What
School
does that
of
mean?
Hard knocks.
Yeah, I've lived a lot of lives.
The YouTube school.
I didn't go to college. I'm all self-taught except for internships and the good old internet
Nice.
Internet.
and courses.
Mm-hmm.
I taken. There it is. That's the self-education coming out. I've taken some online courses, kind of similar to college, but online.
I mean, that was all of 2020 for a lot of college students.
This is
That's
true.
facts.
Yeah.
All of it was online.
Tori?
I have an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree.
In?
Film and video, communications, film and video.
And what are you?
What am I? A filmmaker, an editor. I don't know. I'm a many things.
Yes.
Wimble?
I'm out.
That's not how you say it.
That just brought him back to
It's a
school.
wham about that. Let's start with what am I? I am happy to be here.
Ooh.
I have 1 full year of I have a quarter of a bachelor's degree. I went to college for freshman year only before deciding it wasn't for me. And then I did a 2-year film program at Boston University. But I don't even know. I think it's like a certificate, not like an associate's degree. And I didn't even attend the graduation ceremony.
How do you even know that song then?
I have a lot of like educated friends that like showed me the song, and so I don't even have like a piece of paper that even says I have that certificate or whatever. It just wasn't anything that I cared about. I went there to learn how to make films, and I felt like I got what I needed out of that. And then I have a couple other certificates and things that I've done.
You know anything about drones?
I do. I do have the drone license. I am a certified technology specialist, which is a certification that I had to get at my old job.
That's hot.
Are we going to start listing certifications? Because I have a few of those.
These are just the things that I would say are education adjacent.
I'm not certified in anything anymore. I used to be lifeguard certified.
Certified badass.
Language.
But yeah, that's what I got.
Nice.
I don't have any kind of formal degrees.
I
You're
have
fired.
an associate's degree in photojournalism. I take pictures. And I am tall.
That's
Tall? Tall?
Tall.
Like height?
Yeah.
I'm taller
Have you
than
met?
you.
Psh, I'm still tall.
so now that we've all gone around and shared our education levels.
That's
Yeah.
the podcast.
Let's start talking about opinions. Let's get into the opinions.
Tune in next week and we'll all say what our favorite color is.
Whoa. Mine's yellow.
Give us your prompt. Give us what's the heart of this question. You notice that there's disparate levels of education in the company.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I noticed with like America and the world today that like college is being pushed on like high school students, and they're getting into thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, and getting a job in a completely different field. And it's just like, do you need a college education for like certain
Yeah.
jobs like filmmaking? Do you need a college education for filmmaking? Jamin?
Is this just...
Just
do I
say
s-
no, you don't have it.
Did I say my blanket?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with no.
Thank you.
Tori Weeks.
This is just go around the table and
This
give
is, oh
random
gosh.
answers.
I
Hold
missed
on.
Mike already.
I have a nuanced
Let's stick
answer,
on me
but
for a
if-
second.
Oh,
Yeah, let's stay on me.
Stay on Jamin.
Let's get my camera on me.
Waiting for the editor to cut to Jamin.
When we start talking,
Just don't actually put it on Jamin.
it pans to Cody.
No, seriously, you can cut to Jamin now.
I totally agree with you. I think that it is at a minimum, it should start with just more options for kids out of high school and not so much pressure. That's how I feel. That there should be more time given for kids to kind of just walk a little bit, just be maybe like go on trips, go experience more of the world, to be able to just get a sense of like, what do I want to invest into?
Yeah.
Because there should probably be some sort of investment, right? Like school is supposed to be an investment so that you reap rewards later on. But a lot of people are not experiencing the rewards, you know, the growth that's supposed to happen from the seeds that you plant during college, at least in terms of an education and practical skills that are going to earn you money, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely like a need for not so much emphasis, like you're saying, and more options that are cost effective. That's I think a kind of a baseline in terms of getting out of high school.
Yeah. I definitely think community college is like a great thing because it's cheap and it's just like they have a lot of more options.
Well, you gotta do like the baseline.
You can
stuff
get a
that
lot done.
You usually have to do anyways. Like you're gonna in the first 2 years of your schooling, you have to do like the baseline that everyone has to do.
The gen eds.
Yeah, the gen eds, and it's a lot cheaper to do that at a community college, and you don't have to like decide right then and there like
Totally.
this is my degree. I have to go and try and go towards this, and I don't even really know if that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think community college is like a great option.
There's-
That's why I did it, because it was cheaper, and you still get to do all this stuff.
It still leads into something like
Yeah,
it's not a dead end.
Yeah,
like
you're not
there's
like, oh,
open
I've
doors.
chosen this 2-year path and I can't go anywhere else after that.
Yeah.
It's you choose that 2-year path and then you can take it to a 4-year if you want, or
Yeah.
you can not.
Where I'm from, my the town that I'm from in Montana has a really cool program for high schoolers where they can do dual classes, or
Where you
I
can
did
take
that.
like
high school classes that counting for
equal. Yep.
college
My
credits.
high school had that too.
I,
Yeah.
AP classes.
I
Is that
took-
out there? Okay.
I took classes at my community college and at my high school my senior year. So they let me like dual enrollment was what I did.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was
It's really useful.
and
I don't know
because I
much
was in
about it.
high school it was
My
free.
siblings have been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the question is, do you need to go to college to be a filmmaker? That's a very different question than do you need to go to college?
Period. Yeah.
My answer to both would be a hard no.
That's a very different answer.
So
Different
it's a
question,
different
but
question,
doing.
but there's, we could delve in. We have time. We can delve into both.
Yeah.
But here's what I would say. Here's my overall view of it. I think that, a generation before us and definitely 2 generations before us was a very different landscape as it related to higher education. So it used to be that most of the workforce in this country was blue collar. You worked in manufacturing, you worked in agriculture. Like there was just a lot more what you would call low skill, low education jobs that made up the most of the workforce. Therefore, if you were able to afford a college degree, which was not a given because it wasn't as propped up by the federal government as it is now, and then you were able to get educated and learn a higher skill set to do something more white collar, that you automatically were set apart from the rest of the workforce, as that degree really meant something because you were one of the few that had that degree, and therefore you were one of the few qualified people for that higher paying job. So it became kind of baked into the American dream. You gotta work hard through high school, because if you work hard enough, and you save enough money and you do all the things you need to do, that's the gateway to college, and college is the gateway to an amazing career.
Right.
And it was a kind of a guaranteed thing. And that was pretty much true even for like our parents' generation, those who are probably in like their 40 to 60 age range. Like my parents went to college, and my dad got an accounting and finance degree, and he ultimately started a business and whatever. But it was still like pretty much a reality that a degree meant a good paying job. I would say, at least in my lifetime, I don't know if that's ever been true. Like, not only has the pool of people that go to college, I don't want to make this sound bad. Like, I think access to education is important, right, and necessary. Like, I think that everybody should have equal opportunity to go to college, but because it became watered down, saturated, when the more people that go to college and get a degree, the less valuable that degree is. And that combined with the insane increase in cost of college, it just year to year compounds. To me, I don't know how you could argue that it's a financially viable option anymore. So I think that the system, I think there's a lot of financial corruption and motivation for colleges and high schools to push you down that path that are not necessarily aligned with the best interest of the student and their future. So I think that there's a lot of money to be made by putting people into that machine and not caring about the fact that they are burying themselves under tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to get a piece of paper that ultimately means nothing. Yeah. It does not equate to a job anymore. And, I think there's certain career paths that it's non-negotiable. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a dentist, if you want to be a lawyer, there's certain things that require lots of education. And now I would say that there's probably room for those models to even be shaken up a little bit. I mean, there are a lot of people
that could be really interesting.
A lot of, like, my opinion is that it actually shouldn't be, it should be inexpensive to become a doctor or a lawyer or one of these professions that we heavily rely on, especially doctors. I think it should be inexpensive, but I think it should be hard. Like, the bar should be very, very high, right? Because we anyways, that's
you want good doctors.
So wait, right. Tori, is there anything you think you got out of like getting you got a bachelor's degree, getting a bachelor's degree that is worth the debt?
Well, I mean, see, it's hard in my case because I almost didn't go back to school, but I'm glad that I did because it's gotten me to where I am now. So it's like, and I think it did. Obviously, I think I learned stuff, but I think the biggest benefit I got out of going to school was just the experience and the people that I met.
Yeah. And I think that is the major selling point now, is that you're selling people on the experience. You're going to go out, you're going to find out who you are as a person. You're going to kind of take, for the first time, ownership of your life, live on your own. Like, all of that is like appealing to an 18-year-old kid. I think that it's something that I'm super grateful for, is that my parents made sure I understood the financial part of it and the gravity of that decision and the ramifications of debt and all of that. And I don't think that there's enough of that. Like, when I was in high school, I grew up in a very upper middle class, like affluent school system. It was just like, mom and dad, if you can't afford college, like, mom and dad are going to pay for it anyways, or you know what I mean? Like, and it was just, that was just the expectation of everyone I went to school with. And my parents made sure I didn't fall into that mindset. And
that's cool.
Yeah. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I'm not knocking college and people who go, I think.
I'm knocking it. College is dumb.
Well, I would say I maybe am.
I can see both sides.
I'm knocking the college system. Like, I don't think it's right. I think it's broken.
Yeah.
I think education there's no arguing how valuable it is. I just think that education can take so many different forms, and that it should take the form for you that you need it to take. Right?
Yeah, like, more emphasis needs to be put on finding your own path versus like, oh, here's this one path that we've figured out. Makes us a bunch of money. Everybody go down that one.
And I think that we're living in a time where there are enough alternatives. There are other options. First of all, you can get a 4-year degree online. You can just do it. You don't need to go to college, like the traditional experience.
Yeah.
If you want to just get the degree, you could do it all online. Or you could do like what you were alluding to earlier, some sort of combination of junior college or community college, get your prerequisites, then transfer to that fancy school that you maybe think the degree is worth more from, or they have that specialized program or whatever. Those are viable options. And then I'd also say that there's so many avenues to education, specialized education, that, because I honestly think that 80% of what you learn in a 4-year program is fluff. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was ultimately why I left, because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to learn how to use a camera and edit films and make videos. And the program I was in was very prestigious, and it was a 4-year school, and they were like, this is, we're like the top 10 communication school in the country and all this crap. And I'm like, cool, when do I get a camera? And they were like, oh, like that would be like the second semester of your junior year. And I'm like, I was like, no, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's something I'm really grateful for. And like the program I was in for community college, it was like the school I went to, even though it was a community college, it was like top 5 in the nation with 4-year schools for photography. And they stuck a camera in your hands day one. And it was like all hands-on, all like project-based. There was very little
That's awesome.
sitting in the classroom. Like we still had to sit in the classroom and like learn a lot, of course. And I had to read like the history of photography and stuff. Yeah. That was like one class the first semester. And then my second year was all photojournalism. And that's all I did.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So
that's a great program.
And
it was so stressful though. Really, Cody?
The Bluetooth is still connected to my phone.
But my program was so stressful because they crammed basically a 4-year education into 2 years, and I didn't have summer breaks off. And I think
you were going through summer?
Yeah, like classes went through summer, and I'm pretty sure like around 50% of my class dropped out from like day one.
So it's hard.
Wow. It was so
like
hard.
Cody was talking about.
Yeah.
It
was easy to get into, but super hard
to finish.
Yes.
What? So why didn't you get a bachelor's degree from that? Because it seems like you're actually doing all the work for it.
Because I didn't go to a 4-year school.
Just didn't.
They should have.
The right word.
They just slap it and.
I know. I took all the classes except for like the gen eds. I mean, I even took the gen eds, but not like
all of the required.
Not all the artsy gen eds. Not like the history of art, history of this. Like
I don't even remember my
the
gen
useful
eds
ones.
that I had to take. Like I don't remember that stuff.
No.
Yeah.
I don't really.
To me, it's like they're just inflating the price of admission with that stuff. It's like, oh, you need this. Like by making it harder to obtain the thing you ultimately want and making it a longer experience and a more expensive experience, it's just better for them. And it's all in the name of making you a more well-rounded citizen of the world. And I won't even get into like how I believe that the American university is basically just an indoctrination system, but largely on one side of the ideological spectrum. But beyond that, I just think it's a friggin' price gouge. And, and there was a time where even if all those things were still true, it was still a worthwhile choice because that degree really would equate to something good. So now it's like, well, it's not so much the case. And I think that, if you're a parent and you're high school age kids, like you should really be stretching them to think about other options, try to figure out this is why I like what we're doing with a lot of our clients that are in the education sphere is everything that they're talking about is introducing kids to the real world earlier, right? Like tying everything that they learn in the classroom to its ramifications in the real world, in a market economy, understanding how a dollar works and how jobs work.
Which is like, obviously, like, why are we
well, when you're an adult and you're in the marketplace, you're like, why didn't anyone tell me this? Why didn't anyone never tell me like how credit works or how to like
why do we not learn that
open
stuff?
a bank account or write a check? Like no one tells you
actual practical things that you're going to be using in your real life.
And it's messed up. It's backwards to me. And so it's like if education isn't designed to prepare us for life as an adult operating in an economy, then what is it for? You know what I mean? Like everything should be with that goal in mind, making you a person who's, I think that there's great, amazing things about, helping people to develop empathy and, societal well-being and to be like a good citizen. All that I think is valuable. But ultimately, if it's not preparing you to be a productive member of society, then I don't understand the point. So, and I think that there's other ways to do it.
Yeah.
I think that all too often the education system is trying to take the role of parents too much. I think it's trying to, like, things that should be the task or the role of parents in their children's lives, I think is all too often that those places are taken by the education system kind of without permission.
Do you feel like schools should have like less time, like that there should be more? Well, that's hard because parents are teaching. I mean, parents are working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, here's
so.
a really cool example. Just recently in New Hampshire, they implemented a new program called Learn Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of it is exactly what I was just talking about. Kids are actually getting credit, for real world experience. So they'll actually get credit, like, for going to a business and learning how the business operates.
Wow.
And it's tied into the subjects that they're learning.
Yeah.
Like, because there's math and science and all of this tied in. Even like gym class, instead of just going to gym, you can actually get gym credit if you join an extracurricular sport, like AAU basketball or something.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing is they're breaking the learning experience outside of the four walls of the school, and then applying credit to the education for that. And it's like, for me, I'm like, that's amazing. Because it's making kids, it's giving them real world experience and making them better understanding and more prepared for the real world. 2B, and also, additionally,
Z.
The standardized model of education just doesn't work for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
A lot of kids,
Most of them now.
a lot of
feel
kids
like.
are like high energy, ADD, high anxiety, social anxiety.
Everybody's got anxiety
Like,
now.
there's all kinds of issues that don't lend themselves well to sitting in a classroom in a desk for 6 hours and just like copy pasting, dictating what it says in the textbook onto your test. It's like certain minds thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
Certain kids learn really well like that, but a lot of them don't. And those are the ones that for some reason get written off as like dumb. When the truth is that they're not dumb. They have tons of value and skills and abilities that are unique to them that are just not being fostered or given a context
That
in
was
which they can
definitely
thrive.
me in school. Like, I was a very average student, like C's, B's. Every now and then I got an A,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But school was a struggle for me. And I definitely labeled myself as dumb because I wasn't getting the grades everyone else was.
See, that's terrible. Like,
yeah.
you even think you take on
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
the identity that you feel.
I compared myself to other people who like put in so little effort into
Right.
like take some like classes. I'm like, I'm studying, I'm working hard, and like I'm not retaining any of this.
Didn't learn that
We're
way.
literally giving kids at such a formative time of their lives a scale by which to grade
Judge
their
themselves.
value, right?
Yeah.
I'm a B student. He's like an all A student. He's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Like,
insane.
and they're taking that on early, as opposed to like, yeah, no, you don't learn from books very well, but when you went to that mechanic shop, you friggin' learned how to
Amazing.
build
Yeah.
an engine.
Yeah,
Like,
like
holy
when I
crap.
went to school, when I went to school for photography, and like I was doing projects and not in a classroom the whole time. I was that A student all of a sudden.
You're like,
Yeah.
I was like,
oh.
holy crap!
Were they giving you grades for that stuff too?
They were, but I'm actually kind of okay at photography.
But I think it's cool because
Oh
like
snap.
exposing kids to as many different arenas of life as early on as possible.
Right.
It starts to get them thinking and understanding what what really does make them tick. This is
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the major issues with college right now. Statistics show, I think it's something like 45 to 50% of college graduates in 2021 would write on a survey that they have no idea what their career choice is. So
Oh,
they're-
like after graduate.
After
Yeah, well,
graduating.
yeah, most
Whoa.
people like don't take their actual degree and
right.
go
so,
into a field that has to even
So
do with
they
that.
just took the age 18 to 22, got themselves into God only knows how much debt, went through whatever program that they felt they should go down when they were 18. Like, what a crazy decision to make when you're 18. And then they get on the other side of it and they're like, I graduated. Like,
right.
So it's like something's wrong there, you know, like that level of investment in time should yield something more clear, or it should be lower risk.
Yeah, like growing up, I didn't know there were so many options for school. I remember like I wasn't really aware of associate's degree or community college until my freshman year of high school. I always, from a young age, was like, I'm going to get a 4-year degree. I'm going to like go to school out of state. I might even get a master's. I'm going to have a high level of education, because that's what my mom did. She got a master's degree. Mm-hmm. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And I didn't have the grades for that.
Mm-hmm. You're like, never mind.
And I also like didn't have a passion in any like field that needed a higher level of education. And my mom, she was the one who found the program in state, and I was so mad at myself for so long for like not getting a 4-year degree, and so mad for having to go to community college. And I wouldn't tell people I went to community college.
Yeah.
Because I felt like they'd look down on me.
Yeah, there's a stigma for some reason. But
look at me now,
thriving,
not in debt.
So I think that's a you know, just he's looking at you now.
I'm looking at you now.
I think that's kind of a high level view of education in general and the college thing. But
so
if we wanted to speak about filmmaking specifically, I actually think there's more to be said.
Well, I think that this will lead into it, and I just wanted to add one more kind of thought into the whole education conversation, which is that I feel that one other piece that is people can find and do find pretty, I think fairly often at college, is like some sort of like mentorship, or like someone that you can really look up to and ask like questions. So like you just like someone that is been through the journey that maybe you want to go down, or like the experience a lot of what you expect to experience, but can give you that kind of like, yeah, this is what I went through, and you know, this is how I would recommend you do this and this.
Yeah. You're saying you can find that person in
sometimes. But you can find it other places too. And in my experience, out of high school, I knew I wanted to do something in terms of technology and coding or design. I wanted to be creative. So I thought, okay, I think web design and web development is like the right career for me, because it's really well paying. It's only going to, you know, there's more increase in looking forward. I'm like the next 10, 20 years, like everyone's
not going anywhere.
Yeah. So that was like my plan, but I didn't know where to start, you know, and I also was like, I don't think that I need to go to college. I never wanted to go to college because I didn't like school in general.
Yeah.
And sitting in a classroom like you're talking about, Cody. But then I got connected with my cousin, who is a lot older than me, and had been working at a company called Lonely Planet, and then started a job at Facebook. And so he was really established in his career as a web developer. And I started mentoring under him. He lived in a different state, but we'd Skype, and he was like guiding me through different classes that I needed to take online. I started taking a lot of classes, and I learned a ton. And then he would give me assignments and stuff. But just like that kind of personal connection guiding me towards a goal. And I felt like, okay, like for the first time, I felt like I'm actually going somewhere. Like this is attainable.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like a direction. And I feel like that's something that a lot of kids don't ever get, especially in when there's like class and wealth gaps. You know, lower class don't have access to mentors. And so I think that there's a huge like disparity and problem there.
Well, there's a really cool story. There's an organization that my cousin's on the board of, and it's called Elevate New England. And they're based on, or they created their program based on a program that was done in Denver. And it was the lowest scoring county school district in Denver. And they had like the lowest graduation rate, largest dropout rate, like just the worst possible public school district that they maybe like one of the worst in the country. And this guy recognized the problem that you're talking about, that most of these kids had nothing resembling a role model or mentor. And he knew that from his own life, not only was having mentors so fundamental to his success, but equally as so was him mentoring others.
Wow.
So what he did was he said, well, why can't we create this kind of bracketed system in the public education realm? So what he did was he created an elective class, you know, how in high school you could take like drama or whatever.
Yeah.
So he built an elective program, and what it was you would, let's just say that you're like in 8th grade. You would take this class and you would be assigned an older student as a mentor. Mm-hmm. So it would be either like a volunteer for the organization, or maybe even like an older high school student that was, you know, well-rounded and a good kid. And then you were also given the task of mentoring someone younger in your school district. So if you're like in 8th grade, you would be mentoring like a 3rd grader.
Wow.
And so inevitably what it created was accountability on both sides. Mm-hmm. So you had someone who you were accountable to, your mentor, because your mentor's checking in on you. They're trying to make sure you're doing your homework or whatever, doing the things you need to do. So if you weren't doing it, you're going to be checked in on.
Yeah.
And so you had someone pulling you to a higher level. But then also, when you are given the task or the duty of looking after someone else, in some ways that's even more accountability.
Yeah.
Because then you're truly letting someone down, right?
Yeah.
They're counting on you for their success.
Yeah.
So what it did was all of a sudden these students who were like apathetic, complacent, didn't care, they suddenly became like totally engaged. Mm-hmm. And they were being mentored and mentoring someone younger, and all of the metrics of success of the school district like flipped, and it became incredibly successful. And so there's an organization that actually implements this type of thing in certain school districts in New England.
Wow.
I think it's like in Lowell and Lawrence, and I think they were exploring getting it into Worcester. But anyways, all that to say is like there's an idea, that idea, what they're doing in New Hampshire, there's so many ways to change the status quo.
Yeah, like we don't have to stay in the same.
Yeah. Education reform is huge, you know, like we can do a lot better. And America's falling behind by, you know, all the metrics of education. Like you hear about it all the time, like, oh, China's killing us, Russia's killing us. Like, and I think there's a lot of things that we could do to make it a lot better than it is. Mm-hmm. So
in terms of then that leading into filmmaking, becoming a filmmaker, what do you guys feel like the best route to take is to become a filmmaker? I mean, what's the most viable, you know? In terms of your guys' experience now, like what would everyone recommend? Is like someone who wants to get into filmmaking, they don't know the first step. What's the first step to take?
That's such a hard question.
That's really hard because like
okay, what I would say is step 1 is go to the Team Deakins podcast and listen to episode 1 because they talk about this. So you
go to a different podcast. Stop listening to this.
Seriously,
turn this one off.
Yeah, because you have James and Roger Deakins, who are two of
the sweetest people.
They're so sweet.
I just want to be friends with them.
And they're wildly successful filmmakers in different areas of the craft. I mean, Roger Deakins is the most celebrated cinematographer of all time, basically.
Yeah.
But they both tell their origin stories and the path that they took to, you know, finding where they fit in the filmmaking world. And
not just the first, not to just love that podcast.
We're like, go listen to this one.
That pretty much all of them are just story. Like when they interview people,
it's those stories.
It's just how they got into it.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Yeah,
it's a great podcast.
Definitely listen to it and just turn this off and go listen to that.
Well, let's not do that.
I might actually
shut up, Cody.
I might
no.
I'll just bring
Cody,
it up.
No,
on my
we're just gonna not back to the
start
Votary
Bluetooth playing
podcast.
So here's the answer.
Okay, but here's the takeaway.
Okay.
It depends.
It depends, and there's no right answer and there's no right path because any
Get a camera. Just get a camera.
Well,
I don't like that.
Because I think, I don't know, because I feel like part of being, like, so much of being a filmmaker is personal. So it's going to, like,
Yeah.
whatever type of filmmaker you are is going to come from where you came from. And it's going to be different for everyone.
That's well said.
Because
Yeah.
you're talking about a visual medium, and it's also such a diversified field. Like,
You could be any type
you
of
could be anything.
person.
Yeah.
You can be more creative, more like there's
It has everything.
a position
Yeah,
for
like
everyone.
filmmaking, you could be a business person. You could be an accountant, like a line producer or an executive producer. You can be an electrician.
Yeah.
You can be a construction manager. Like
You can be an art director.
Yeah, like there's any skill set. If you love clothes, you can be a wardrobe person. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
true.
So like there's
So many different
there's
things.
so many different practices within the realm of filmmaking that there's any number of formal education that would help any one of those fields.
True.
So there's that. But then if we were just talking about, let's just take cinematography.
Okay.
You want to be a person who actually holds the camera, lights, and sets up a shot.
Yeah.
You can certainly go to film school for that. No matter what, you're going to need to educate yourself about how a camera works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, you're going to need to do that. So if that's in some sort of regimented, structured program that you pay for and you have a professor who's teaching you those things, that's great. Or do you want to buy a, $500 camera
Yeah.
or
around.
use your iPhone and go on YouTube and watch endless streams of tutorials? You could also do that. Or if you want to reach out to filmmakers that you respect that are in your area and you want to say, hey, like I would love to just like PA on a project or shadow you.
That's the one that I feel like I would most strongly recommend is just like find people who are willing to
Mentor
give
you a
you
little
the
bit. Yeah.
time of day and just say, I'll help you any way you can. Just let me PA for you. I'll carry your sandbags.
Yep. You learn. I think this is probably true. I would say most people who are in production specifically would agree that they learned the most, regardless of their education, just by being on set and by observing. So.
Well, I learned a lot from Jono. I feel like I took a big jump when I came here and kind of
He was your mentor.
my way under. I was like, Jono, you're my mentor now.
Yeah.
So he helped me a lot. But then I was also going to add that this is sort of off topic, not though.
Say it.
Go for it.
But one of the things that I think has honestly helped me a lot is I played a lot of sports growing up, and I was on like a basketball team, and so I know how to be on a team very well.
Wow, that's so cool.
That was the
And-
opposite for me.
Really?
Yeah, because I did a lot of individual sports. I played tennis and I
Well,
did
you're a
swimming.
photographer.
And photography is very individual
Yeah.
sport like career on like video. So I had to like
But it's
Wow.
weird because I
Just.
just recently realized how much I love, like how important a team is to me. And I all of a sudden realized like, yeah, obviously you grew up playing sports your whole life.
Yeah,
Of course
yeah.
you like being on a team. Like, I don't know why it took me this long to like connect those
That's
two
sick though.
things.
That's a great reflection.
So
It's
children
a very good
play
metaphor.
sports.
I mean, if you look at the end of the credits of any movie, the amount of people working
exactly.
together that it takes to put together
It's
like
never
a
one
feature
person.
film is like out of control.
Yeah, it's out of control.
It's honestly, I tried to control it recently,
But it's out of there.
I couldn't because it was out of control.
Couldn't put it back in the control.
So, to harken back to Roger Deakins, his story was really cool because he started as a documentary photographer. Photojournalism was his thing. And he was in his early 20s, and he grew up in Great Britain. And it was really interesting timing for him because he was in that stage of life like, oh, what do I want to do? I like making images, but I just don't know what to
Did
do
he
with
go
it.
to college?
So
Oh, sorry.
when he was
Getting there.
when he was exploring his options and stuff, a friend of his said, "Hey, they're opening something called the International Film School in London. I think it was London, or something like that. And I'm going to apply, and you should too."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And he looked into it, and he applied and got declined. And so for some reason, they actually allowed him to do like a interview after being turned down. I think because it was like a new program, they wanted to like still have people interested or whatever. So he went and they're like, yeah, we can't accept you this year for whatever reason. But they basically said, hey, if you apply again, you'll be accepted next year. So he spent a year doing photojournalism, and then reapplied, got in. And what was really cool about this program, it had to do with the British government was really pushing to revitalize the arts.
Yeah.
And they were actually pouring federal money into that effort. So this format of this school sounds so cool, and there's no way that you could do it now in this way. But essentially what they would do is you would go in, you would have very, very little formal, like, hey, this is how a camera works and this is how film works. And like, you would get like the baseline information, but then they would just say, here's the gear. So here's like a 35 millimeter film camera or 16 millimeter film camera, whatever. And here's a pile of money. Each student was given an allotment, a budget of money. Yeah, a physical pile. And they could do whatever they wanted. So
that seems like
right,
a fantasy. Is that real?
So what? Like a lot of students. Let's just say for argument's sake, there was like $10,000 each. Each student could choose how to spend that money to make something, to make their films or whatever the project they wanted to do.
Jeez.
And a lot of students would pool their money together to make something larger together. So Roger Deakins, while he was in film school, he graduated from that program having shot 15 films.
Holy crap.
Not all like full length features necessarily, but a lot of short films, a lot of documentaries. Yeah. And he just learned. He just like was just like, yeah, I'll shoot your thing, and just like learned how to become a DP like that. And I'm like, that's so cool. And his friends were like, I directed 6 films, and you know what I mean? Like they were just like getting all this experience because they just had money given to them to do it, which I think is like, Cody, like you said, it's like a fantasy.
Cody, can I have a pile of money?
Yeah.
Can I have a pile of money? I'll go make some
money.
I just thought that was such a cool story. And then because of that experience, he transitioned into the real world very confidently. He was just like, the moment he had a real client.
It's like he'd done it all before.
Yeah, he was like, yeah.
This with real money and everything.
Yeah, so it was like a very just cool transition.
I mean, that's like part of the reason I chose the program that I went through is because an internship was like a required part of it, and they would like help you get an internship, and I knew an internship was the actual way into anything. I knew the schooling probably wasn't just gonna be enough.
Yeah,
I knew an internship was like super important, and it was.
Where'd you end up going?
Oh, just this one place in Worcester. Starts with a V. It sounds. This is how Votary.
Votary.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, they were asking him like, you know, so you went to film school and look at you, how successful you are. Like, would you say that everyone should do that? And he just had the same answer. He was like, no, like,
really?
He's like, it worked for me, but I got super lucky. Like I was just in the right place at the right time where they were doing this.
That's always what it is.
Experimental program.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many different avenues to learn.
Pretty cool because it's like turns out that we're in the right place at the right time too. So
I think you literally just have to follow what feels right for you. Yeah. If it's school, then go for school. If it's not school, then don't go for school.
Your happiness comes first.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean the only caveat I would put to that is just like I think there's an objectively irresponsible decision that you can make as it relates to certain school choices, like
just going to school.
Yeah, like
to go to
like
school.
Yeah, just because you feel like it's like okay.
Like some people are afraid of the real world and stepping out into the real world, so they'll stay in school forever.
Oh yeah,
and they'll just be like, okay, I'm getting my master's now, and because they don't know what the next step is after.
Mm-hmm. They're like, I guess more education.
Yeah.
Right. It's like they're so used to the education space.
Yeah. Or like that's what they've been told they should do. Like that's all they know.
Yeah.
Is they think that's like the right choice or the right way to go.
Sometimes your feelings can lie to you.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I think I think a lot of people aren't listening to the right feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I mean if I were to give advice to any young person who's trying to figure it out, I would just say don't rush the decision.
Yeah.
Expose yourself. Look, right now there are over $11 million available.
$11 million.
I need to go back to school. There are over 11 million available jobs in this country. So,
or even just like just take a year.
So if you want to get some hands-on real-world experience,
11 million,
you could cut to Jamin. You can get a job. You can get a job if you want one and you're a hard worker. You can get a job right now, and you can get a job and you can go to school at night, or you can work and take an online class. Like you can figure it out in a way that doesn't necessitate endless amounts of debt that you'll never scratch your way out of.
Okay.
And I would, I wouldn't rush the decision, and I would also try to expose yourself to as many different things as you can before you like choose a path.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one time
you exposed yourself to a few things.
Hey, whoa.
All right.
You were on a path. I remember when I was on a path and I ran into you and you exposed yourself. Is that the story we're going to tell?
Down a weird road. What were you going to say?
Chad.
I can say something on exposing myself to things.
Sure.
Is like even though I went to school for photography and photojournalism, I was required 2 multimedia classes, and it was in the first multimedia class that I decided my internship was going to be at a video production company. Because even though I was in school for photography, I was like, I like this,
and now
let me do this. And it was like the exposure of that is what made me the fact that I was forced to take that class that I was super anxious about and didn't really want to do. And I was like, oh wait,
that's a much better story than the one I was going to tell.
Oh
yeah, I was just going to say that when I was in middle school, went on a field trip to a fire truck place.
You almost became a firefighter?
And I was like, well, this is cool, but I don't want to be a firefighter. So it didn't actually help.
So you wanted to be a
fire truck place? The fire truck store?
Well, I almost, for a brief moment, I was like, I'm going to maybe be a nutritionist because I like food.
I bet you could still be a nutritionist at the same time as being a filmmaker.
Maybe. Wow. But then I was like, no, cameras.
I mean, when you ask most people, hey, how'd you get to where you are? It's more times than not, it's like a story of kind of like bouncing around until I found the right place, right? And that's inevitable. Mm-hmm. I know so few people. I can think of one friend in particular who he started a program with a company while he was in high school, stayed in that program all through college, then got a job in that company as he graduated, and he's still there today. He
didn't have to go.
His path just never deviated. But I'm like, he's the only person I've ever known who's done that.
Wow.
Most people, it's like, yeah, I did this for a while, and then I didn't love that, or I got laid off, or whatever. And it's just like life takes you different places. So I just think that
try them. Try some things.
Gotta try them all.
You just gotta do them all good.
Try and try again.
Try until you find something that makes you happy.
You just do it.
Just education.
Find something that you can do every day and not hate.
I mean, it's nice to be yourself. It's nice to be wildly successful like we are, to have everything figured out.
Wait.
Have millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are millions, if not billions, of people listening to this right now that are learning from what we have.
And that's a metric that we can trust in terms of success. Votary success in terms of billions, in terms of people.
I don't know if you can hit trillions, but we might be there.
If
our viewership,
if there are past people who are no longer living listening to this, we could be in the trillions.
They're probably just forced to listen to this, though, because it's all the ghosts in this building.
Because they have eternity to listen, and so they have to listen to this podcast at some point.
I would say our viewership is out of control.
It's out of this world, honestly. We're broadcasting in space now.
I think this is good because we started in a very silly, unhelpful place, and then there was a string of, there was a string in the middle that
This is the end?
I don't know. Are we at the end?
We're wrapping soon.
Did you time it?
Yeah, I did.
Is it almost up?
It's almost up. We're
Wait, how
pretty
much
up.
time? Tell me.
I want an
We
exact
have.
time.
All right, you want exact time?
I do.
All right, you have 7 minutes.
What? No, why,
crap, how
that
are we
didn't
gonna
tell me.
fill this
We
in?
haven't been recording for only 7 minutes.
No, you have 7 minutes until I'm gonna cut.
For 50 minutes.
What are we gonna do for 7 minutes? The podcast's over.
We're just
No, we can keep
podcast
talking.
over.
Hold on, no.
Whoa, what were...
Wait,
A podcast feels.
Wait, he's
kinda
got an
old.
outro song.
He's got an outro song. I'm so sorry. Podcast not over.
Well, I would just like to say...
Hold on.
Thank you for continuing.
No,
to
Tori's got
listen
something to
us.
say.
I was just going to say...
I'll play you out with the music.
I'm happy I went to school because it was right for me.
This is your
And it led-
valedictorian.
It led me to...
This is your valedictorian graduation
led me
speech.
to where I am today. And now I hope to inspire all of you to lead yourself to where you want to go today.
You're talking like
Okay.
the homeless drunk lady who wandered onto the stage at the graduation.
I want
Let's say,
everyone.
college kids, what's going on here? I was once
Do
a...
good things good now.
You go to school, you're gonna be just like me.
All right, I want everyone to throw their headphones up in the air like graduation caps.
Oh my God! Don't break them. Jamin, throw your actual hat.
We weren't allowed to throw our graduation.
My graduation caps.
We actually were not allowed to throw our graduation caps.
I would have.
Isn't that ridiculous?
I don't think we were allowed to at high school graduation.
All right, that's another Votary podcast.
We did it.
Thanks for listening.
Now you all know how uneducated we are.
But we'll still make good videos.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.